Saba, you said, I think I got this from your website, that you are representing the interest of your clients zealously even after they find homes for their books. So, okay, you find a home, and what does that look like? How are you looking out for Kyle's interest zealously past that point?
Well, the publication process is long and has a lot of different aspects to it beyond the book deal. Obviously, the most important one is negotiating the contract. That can be very painstaking. And also, I often have to chase contracts, people to get me the contract, and then I have to actually chase them to respond to me when I respond to them, because they're really, really short-staffed, and pandemic has made it much worse. So that's the most important thing I do after we sell the book ostensibly to the editor and they step back, and then legal comes in. But even after that, we have conversations about, how we're going to publish the book. When is it going to get published? Seasons. What's the marketing going to be like? What's the publicity going to be like? I make sure I try to I know authors have no idea what this timeline looks like. And also, it's that kind of information is so difficult to glean because different houses work very differently from each other. So there is no manual on what to expect once you sell your book. And I know, because I have that sort of experience, I'm the person supposed to tell my clients how to do that. And so usually what I tend to do is, when we're about 9 months from pub, I'll sort of send them a checklist that I kind of design individually for each of my clients, sort of month by month, where I tell them, all right, this is what we need to be doing at this point in your journey. This is when we should sort of nudge your editor and ask them, okay, can we meet our publicity team? Can we meet our marketing team? Let's talk about conferences we can pitch to. Let's talk about, do we have a cover yet? Why don't we have a cover yet? Can we talk about that? I make sure that the author is involved in that, consultation. I make sure the vibe that I'm presenting to the editor is, we are really interested in being hands-on here. And I know that's an important thing for me to communicate, because a lot of authors are actually not interested necessarily in being that hands-on in the process. And it's in the editor's interest not to give them that information or invest that time and energy in them, because they are so busy. So when I start the relationship that way, so that they can sort of keep us, up to date, as reviews come in, I'm asking, when are the reviews coming in? Shouldn't they be coming in? I sort of check in every month or so. Like my personal process is, first of the month, I look at all my clients' books and where they are in their process. And I'm like, all right, what do I need to follow up on, for whom and why and with whom? And so after the book gets sold and the contract gets signed and we've announced it, usually, like I said, 9 months to pub, there are certain things that I kind of have to follow up with. And sometimes I don't even have to, because the editor is really hands-on and they do it themselves, and that's wonderful. But sometimes they forget, balls get dropped. Where's the audiobook? Is that happening? Who's narrating it? Do we need to audition people? Like, these are things that, I've heard horror stories from my fellow agent colleagues, where, like, if we don't follow up, sometimes they just absolutely get dropped completely. Like, I've heard of stories where the audiobook was literally forgotten. I've heard stories where the editor forgot to send the book to trade reviews. They just forgot. So it never got reviewed by Kirkus or, SLJ or anything. That's such a big factor in sales and in promotion and in just getting the word out on the book. So I try really hard to make sure we hit those marks, and make sure that my authors know, and that Kyle knows his publicist and his marketing team, or as soon as they can, so they can build a relationship, and then that they can kind of feel excited about the book. Because as I said in the beginning of this interview, most people on your team haven't read your book, and maybe they'll read your book if they like you enough, honestly, or they're excited by what you're writing, or they like you, and you talking to you has made them excited about it. And I often say, if you're in New York, please meet your editor. Try to schedule a visit at your publisher. Obviously, pandemic has made that difficult, but just show them who you are, and then they might actually, be like, oh, I like him. I'm gonna read the book and see. And that's obviously gonna make such a big difference to how well the book gets promoted. So those are the kinds of things I kind of encourage my clients to do, and I think I've done for Kyle too in this process. So yeah.
And Kyle, what's been your experience getting to this point of wink, wink, 3 days before launch, up to now? What has Saba been in contact with you about? How have you worked together to get to this moment?
It's honestly hard to answer that for Too Bright to See, which comes out in 3 days from now, wink, wink. Because since then, we have sold a lot of books together. And we are both guilty of talking about different projects on one email thread. So like, she'll send me an email about like, oh, we just got, you know, what do you think about the cover for this? By the way, this other project, the editor told me, and then the email turns into like this whole unrelated project. So my brain is kind of a jumbled mush of different books at this point, and it's harder for me to like sort of trace the through line of Too Bright to See, which comes out in 3 days. But it's just a lot of emails, man. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's just a lot of emails about lots of details, some of which I didn't know were details, some of which I was really excited to find out, like, you know, the cover design. I was extremely excited about the audiobook because the actor that they chose to record the audiobook literally just happens to be one of my best friends. The audiobook engineer was like, hey, you know, we're coming up with some names. I'm wondering if you've heard of this trans actor based in Brooklyn named Jax Jackson, was going to go on in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but hasn't because of the pandemic. Check out Jax's website. Let me know what you think. And I was like, here are all the selfies that we have together. Like, we've been friends for ages. So yes, I think that Jax would be a great choice for this. So there have been like a lot of joys along the way that I wasn't even anticipating. And then just, you know, a lot of emails about like conferences and panels and like flap copy, and you just got this starred review and like, you know, good stuff. It's just, I saw a GIF or a GIF the other day of like little birdies like running back and forth as like waves were coming up at them, and then like they managed to avoid the waves with their little bird feet. And that's how it feels. It's just like always running around emails.